Hey, welcome back. The Michelin Man is here. The right tire changes everything. We got him riding in the back there too. We got a whole bunch of stuff to do to this thing today. This is my friend David's van. He's been driving this thing since the almost new. Let's get started on a fuel injection upgrade. We got new updated injectors, new lines, new fuel rails, all new gaskets, through firewall, or whatever you want to call it, through bulkhead fitting to change. So all this has got to get swapped out. You going to be supervising there, Bibbidum? All right. We got to get the airbox off over here. We get space to get down to our fuel injectors there, and the plastic fuel rails. We're going to be replacing them with metal ones. The bulkhead line has already been bypassed over here because the fitting broke. So we got to put a new aluminum one in there. It's going to go in there. Get to work, David. All right. Unplug the injectors. Squeeze down on a little retainer. It'll spread those little feet off of it and you could pull them off. We're going to be replacing all the rubber lines, the rails, the injectors, all the lines up to here. So one line at a time, we're going to swap them out so you don't get them confused. All right, got 10mm bolts here that retains the injectors. We'll get that out of the way. They will start to pop out right then and there. Now we need to get this whole assembly out. I'm not going to fight with all these. We're just going to snip these off because we're going to be changing new hoses anyway. So let's get these removed. There will be some gas leakage. We have a pan down below us. We got our injectors out of the way. We got to dig out the little, the rubber O-rings that are on here have to come out. They're still in there. We have to get them out carefully without having any of the bits and pieces fall inside. Let's see. So we've got a little hook tool. We're pulling out the rubber that's there. I think there might be more in there too. Let's see. No, that's it. We're going to wipe this out. Let's get that other one out over here too. I'm wiping. Let's go take a look at the injectors now. All right, here's our new MansiSpeed upgraded injectors. They are longer than the factory ones. The factory ones had one rubber O-ring. These have two stacked up. So it'll be about here where it's mounted. They give you these hoses. They may be a little too long. We may cut them down, but we need to get this retainer out of here. So you have to get these rubber retainers that slide into that groove out, and they are rock hard right now. You have to break them, crack them, bust them, and get them off. There. Removed. And this is the piece that we need. All right, we got our little rubber thing slid onto the little groove over here, and the retainer's on, and we could put the injectors back in. These may be too long. We might cut them a little bit shorter. We'll see once we fit them in the car. We got our holes for the injectors cleaned out. We got a little bit of lube on the rubber here, and then we'll put this whole assembly back in place. All right, we have the bracket tightened up over here. You could see that the injectors are longer. There's a little bit of that rubber O-ring sticking out. It's like a spacer on these injectors. These are going to be way too long, the rubber hoses where they sit. Maybe like here. So we're actually going to maybe cut a little bit off of them, maybe 1/4 of an inch to get that a little bit closer right there. And then this other screw, we might flip this around so it'll be on the top. You can get that one off and then that one off that way. See how that works. I chopped just a little bit off of that to make room for the manifold. I put a little lube on the end of those and slid it right on. We're going to leave these standing up so we can tighten them up from the top with a smaller wrench. And then we'll start running the other lines, whatever, two back and forth. And now we get to repeat everything that we did here over there. There's a little less room with the electronic box in here, but it's not that bad. You reach in there and get it done. So get the injectors undone. Same thing. All right, that side is all done. Now we're going to just change out all these lines individually. You know, the pressure line, I believe, this one coming here. We're going to have to break off these clamps on here and run new rubber lines. The abrasive little plastic coating, I think David's got some other parts to put on place of these. So we're going to just one by one change. We'll start with this one. Change that one out. So for the regulator, other side out. And then those one by one. We got bulk hose just cut to the right length. I guess that one's really not too tight. How are we going to get these off? I have a pair of clippers that we're just going to go and give them a snip. You can pry, you could wiggle. There we go.
That's all I need to know. All right.
All right, clamps out of the way. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. If they're really stuck, you could slice it open, get them off. There we go. These are all plastic. How much longer would they have lasted before they cracked and sprayed fuel all over your engine and set your van on fire? So good reason to upgrade these things and get rid of them. The bulkhead fitting in this thing already failed at David's house. He came out, turned the key, and it was gas spraying out underneath the car. So luckily he didn't get far. He shut it down and was able to bypass it a few months ago. That's what warranted doing all these replacement parts. Okay, we got the one line removed. We pulled off the sleeve, the abrasive sleeve off the old line. It's actually still in good shape. We were going to put on this that came with the kit, but actually this is much better. So we just clean these off. We'll slip the new piece of hose in there. We cut it to the same length. It's going to go on there. Slide it in and then clamp it in place. Okay, we got our one new line in here already. We have the crimp-on type clamps. We're going to use them all over the place here. So we have another one here. And the crimping tool. Get it squashed. Positioned, crimp. Nice and tight. Oh, oh, there we go. Does it wiggle? No. Excellent. All right, same thing over here. We're gonna cut off our old clamp. Bust it off here and we'll change this hose out next. We're gonna continue just changing the hoses one by one. This one's gonna have to be a little bit longer to clear this. It was kind of rubbing against that part. This one we already ran. We're not gonna crimp it yet until we change out this one to get into that one clamp over here. So we'll probably pull it back. That's the one that's going to the bulkhead that we need to change to. So these will be like the last few that we hook up. So we'll get this one run and get the new lines run here, but not crimped yet. There we go. All right, we have everything around over here. These are not crimped yet. This is the line we got to contend with now, the line coming in. And the plastic fitting broke a while back and it was bypassed. So we have a new aluminum replacement. So we have the rubber line that's going to run from here to there, and then it turns into a plastic line back here. So we have to trace that back and see how we're going to attach that plastic line to this new fitting. We have a kit from, I think, Go Westy to kind of do this, but let's see what we can come up with. All right, we're gonna get this clamp removed. We're gonna get this hose running up to the bulkhead fitting, and then we are gonna hook up everything onto this and then start feeding the plastic hose back in and down, and then trace it out to where it needs to go in the end. We crimped this one when it was out of the engine compartment, lots of space, and then we'll feed it back in. Got to put the sleeve back on it, and then we'll figure out where we need to cut it off on the end. We made it a little bit extra long. We got a new plastic line kit that we're going to run back to the fuel filter. We'll also replace the fuel filter. What we're going to do is, this needs to transition to a rubber piece to go through this little bulkhead. So the kit comes with an adapter that's going to go to plastic, and then we need a small rubber piece that we're going to put onto here. And we're going to make this all out of the car, and then we could feed it in, because it'll be almost impossible to try to make these connections up under the van. So let's make that up, and then we'll use the other line to pull this line back, and we'll cut it off where we need it when we get to the fuel filter. And again, we'll have to transfer to one of these over here. All right, heat that up a little bit. Not too much. That should be good. Let's try.
May not be hot enough.
A little bit more. Okay, well, this is crimped together, and we can feed this whole mess into the bus and attach it with the screws inside. All right, we didn't want to cut this shorter because we didn't know what we were going to need it at. We have the plastic line fed through the little bulkhead hole, and we have it plugged into the old fuel line. So we're going to start pulling the old fuel line back and use that to feed the new one through where it needs to go back to the fuel filter. I'm going to cut the rubber line right over here on this one. We're going to put a pair of vice grips on here to keep gas from dripping on us, and then we're just going to pull the other old plastic line and feed the new one right back to where it needs to go. We have that crimped off. We snipped our line. We got doused in gasoline. Be careful, don't burst into flames when you're doing this. And now we're gonna pull this line back. Feeds through part of the frame over there and makes like a weird turn. I don't think there's a retainer on it or something. We'll have to find out in a minute. Let's go try moving this now. All right, crammed in. There is a screw up over there that holds a little clamp that holds the fuel line. I don't know if I could show it to you. It's in a difficult spot to see here. We got a long extension on the end of the screw so we could loosen it up. And get the clamp loose. The bulkhead fitting is back in. All the connections were made before, as previously shown. Now we could hook up this other fuel line. And this one we're going to put a hose clamp on in case you have to drop the engine out or something. You don't have a crimp-on clamp. All right, we cut it a little bit shorter. Now we'll put it back on. There we go. All right, we tried using the old plastic line connected to the new plastic line to feed the line through, and that failed miserably. So we just yanked the old plastic line out, and David was up on top feeding the thing down, and I was fishing it through the holes. It needs to go through like one of the bulkheads down through the frame in 2 different spots, and another little holder along the frame rail it slips in. So it's a pain. It's in a crappy spot, but we were able to manage to get it where it needed to go, and then buttoned it up here. We need to cut off the plastic line that we ran and also reattach it. There's a little clamp that crimped onto it over here by the brake lines where they went and held them with a Phillips head screw. So it's got an extra covering on here. We got to try to slip something over it. Here's a closer look at that clamp. It'll go over the fuel line. We might slide this back on it. A little abrasion resistant stuff. Cover it up. Needs to be thin for this to work. And there is rubber in there already too, so. It's really hard to show, but the fuel line's attached back up to that little bracket over there. It's easier to reach your arm over the top of the transmission to get it in place over there. So that's all bolted in place. We have our line over here. We're going to cut off what we need, attach it to our fuel filter. So we need to put another one of those little fitting adapters and a rubber line, and we can leave a little excess here to push it like back and forth out of the way, so we'll kind of get it close to what we needed at. Let's get that done and get our new fuel filter installed also at the same time. All right, the fuel filter is held in with a Phillips head screw, and it kind of clamps right on to the frame rail, 2 little holes, so you can pull it down like this. We have our new lines crimped and installed. We're gonna leave the other line that's on there right now. We're just gonna put this up in place and use the hose clamps that were there. You can unscrew to change the filter easy. Okay, everything is hooked up here. We are just gonna cycle the key off and on to look for any leaks. I wanna go underneath right now too and hear if our fuel pump is going. All right, go ahead. Keep cycling off and on. There we go. Let it, all right. Keep going. Keep going. Cycle it one more time. Don't crank it. All right, hold on. All right, let's look up here now. All right, do it again. Try to start it now. That's a squeaky belt. All right, crank it again. Oh, you took it off the jack stand and now it's quiet. How unusual. What do you think? Fuel system upgrade accomplished. We got no leaks. Everything is running well. David's going to be happy cruising around in his van for another 10 years, easy. If this video helped you, do me a favor, like, subscribe. Click on the super thanks. That would help me out too. I love helping people, but I could use your help also. So come back. Next time we'll be doing belts, and we have a Go Westy alternator upgrade to put on here, new bracket. And we're closing up shop for today. Right, Bibidum?